Hello guys! Today's video is not one, but two customs. They're both from Star Wars related comic books, Clone Commander Faie and Clone Commander Keller. Despite not appearing in the movies nor animation series, both are popular with the fans. They have received official Hasbro release in the 3.75 inch figures, and Commander Keller actually went as far as getting in the list of top 10 popular clones on StarWars.com at one point. Now, why do I decide to cram two figures into one video, you might ask? Well, they're both very similar looking, of course. But, in fact, I made Faie and actually finished a video of him already. But then I was not happy with the way he turned out, so I immediately went on to making Commander Keller, drawing him from lessons that I've learned. As a result, I have decided to scrap Faie's video in favor of a combined showcase, because I want to show an evolution of how I went from this to this. As I said, the troopers are not in the show or movies, but they nonetheless inspired me because they just look so badass. I was once hooked on Bungie's video game Destiny, and okay, take that back. Hooked is actually an understatement. I was consumed by this game, and in the game, I mained the character class Hunter, which also wore a hooded cloak. I am sure this has something to do with why Faie and Keller's design spoke to me. Also, the hooded cloak is something that I've never done before, and I could challenge myself to pull it off. And right from the start, I know it will be a combination of hard sculpt and soft goods. I know this soft goods versus hard sculpt thing is a bit of a touchy subject. Some collectors have very strong, actually very rabid preference on one over the other. And this is my take on it. I'll only do soft goods if it looks good. And in the end, I wasn't confident in my sewing skills, which amounts to pretty much zero. I just couldn't do it well at the scale, and even with Hasbro production figures, it's either a hit or miss anyways. So when I started with Faie, I was originally gunning for a cloth tunic, but in the end, it just looks very corporate-like and lacked the character that I'm looking for. Luckily, I accidentally came across my Mace Windu figure and realized that I could appropriate the tunic for this project with a couple of modifications. First of all, I had to grind down the torso to create a more natural fit for the tunic over the clone armor. I had to separate the top into two parts also, so I could retain the torso articulation. I then do the bottom piece separately. Note how I have to notch the clone belt slightly to give the illusion of cloth tucking into the belt. The rest of Master Windu's tunic actually didn't go to waste. I chopped the back bottom piece of this figure to salvage pieces to form the sleeves. I'm overall happy with the results, although it hinders on the articulation, but the original figure's shoulders movement wasn't one to write home about anyways, right? So I did both figure tunics the same way. Now, here's the part where things deviate. Let's look at Faie's first. For Commander Faie, I got a clone engineer head sculpt from an eBay seller. I wasn't sure what I was smoking at that time, but I made a huge mistake. I looked at the character reference and decided that the mouthpiece ought to be wider, so I kitbashed a Stormtrooper helmet piece to the clone engineers. I immediately regretted it. It was out of scale, but that's the only head sculpt I have, so I trudged forward with it. I tried to hide the oversized head by trimming off the corners here and then hiding it under the hood, but I was still bugged by it. I then went to work on the hood, scarf, and cape. I just didn't think there was a way to make the hood with soft goods, so I decided to sculpt it out of epoxy putty. I want the head to be somewhat articulated, so I had to figure out a way to create a design that will allow two pieces of hard sculpt to look natural. I broke the neck piece down from the hood and treated it like a scarf. It doesn't make 100% sense, because the back kind of looks like a separate hood, but it still looked like they belong together, unless, of course, if you sit down and think it over. Nonetheless, I could have done a cleaner job the way I sculpted the fabric. There are times when I nail the folds, but working on it, I accidentally pressed it with my fingers and completely smushed it. I was honestly a bit rushing it because I was so impatient. This project was on and off for about 2 months, and I was happy I was able to work through some obstacles. But looking back, I was not 100% happy with the final outcome. It does its job, but it lacks that effortless look, right? I was a bit tired by the end of the process and pretty much swore I'll stay away from it. And then the next day I saw Keller, and it immediately inspired me to pick it back up. I not only liked the design, but saw it as an opportunity to make a better one and redeem myself. I also like that the scarf piece isn't as integral as the hood, so it gave me more freedom to run with a different look. I was happy with the way the Tunic turned out last time, so I went with the same strategy. The question is, then, how will I do the hood and the cape? So at first I saw my first order Elite Snow Trooper, and I decided to sacrifice that figure and try to go for soft goods this time. I wanted to somehow tuck the hood material underneath the Tunic, but then it just created this bunching underneath the Tunic, and it pretty much presents another problem, and then I pretty much abandoned that idea. Then I saw another Rise of Skywalker figure. This time it's the Kylo Ren with the interchangeable hood and removable cape, and sparks immediately went flying. I had finally found the perfect solution. So the way it works is the head can still be articulated. All I need to do is remove the hood, turn the head, and pop the hood back on. It's realistic also, since in real life hoods generally don't move with the head, but instead stays relatively in the same place. What's more, I wanted the inside lining to go black, so this works out perfectly. Because this one comes in black, I only need to paint the outside. So it provides a very nice contrast to the predominantly white figure, and some of the shapes that are created by the black are actually quite visually interesting. Now, looking back at the Commander Keller figure, this build is essentially kit bashed to the max. The head is from the Purge Trooper, hood and cape is from Kylo Ren, and the Tunic is from Mace Windu. As some of you might have guessed, the name of my channel, Kit Bashed, is kind of a play on the word kit bashed. Of course, I call it Kid Bash before, like K-I-D bash, like Kid Capri, Kid Bash, and I looked it up the internet afterwards, and then I realized that there's a bunch of videos that pop up with kids being bashed up and being beaten and abused, and I just decided, hey, I don't want people looking me up and seeing that, so I kind of changed that name, but hence Kabash. But anyways, long story short, I think that this figure really embodies the whole spirit of my channel, which is kit bashing things to create something new. So I am overall pretty happy with the way this figure turns out. But you know what? You guys will be the judge. Which one do you actually think it's better, Faie or Keller? Or neither, or both? So anyways, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.